The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Over 300 species had sent their representatives to this emergency meeting. They came from every corner of the known galaxy. Some had scales, some had feathers, and some were made of living crystal. But today, all of them shared the same feeling. Fear. Ambassador Vex Story stood at the center of the hall. He was an Andalian, a tall creature with blue skin that glowed when he felt strong emotions. Right now, his skin was flickering like a broken light. His 4 eyes moved across the crowd as he held up a data tablet. "The Cathari Dominion has declared war," he said. His voice was shaking. "Their fleet left their home system 3 days ago. They have 200,000 warships." The hall erupted in noise. Delegates shouted and screamed. Some covered their faces with their hands or claws or tentacles. The Cathari were the most feared warriors in the galaxy. They had conquered over 50 species in the last 1,000 years. No one had ever defeated them. High Counselor Myrison raised 2 of her 4 arms for silence. She was very old, over 800 years, and she had seen many wars. But even she looked pale today. "We have faced threats before," she said slowly. "We will gather our forces. We will defend our borders. We will—" "You do not understand," Vex Story interrupted her. This was a terrible breach of protocol. No one ever interrupted the High Counselor. But Vex Story did not care anymore. "I have seen their projected invasion route. I have studied their path through our space." He pressed a button on his tablet. A massive holographic map appeared above the council chamber. It showed the galaxy, with thousands of star systems marked in different colors. A red line showed the path of the Cathari fleet. It cut through the map like a wound. "They will pass through Sector 7G, Vex Story said quietly. The noise stopped instantly. Every single delegate went silent. They all knew what was in Sector 7G Earth, the home of the humans. The Protolian delegate was the first to speak. He was made of living crystal, and his body was humming with anxiety. "We must warn them. We must tell the humans to leave. They should evacuate before the Cathari arrive." "Warn the humans?" Vex Story laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "No, my friend. We must warn the Cathari. We must beg them to change their route. We must plead with them to go around Earth." "But the Cathari have never been defeated," another delegate said. "The humans are a young species. They've only had space travel for 200 years. What can they possibly do against the largest armada in history?" Vex Story turned to look at the delegate. His glowing skin had stopped flickering. Now it was solid dark blue, the color of deep fear. "Do you know why we created the exclusion zone around Earth?" he asked softly. "Do you know why every species in this council agreed to stay away from that system? Do you know why we do not trade with humans, do not visit humans, do not even speak to humans unless we absolutely must?" The delegate shook his head. "Because we are afraid of them," Vex Story said. "All of us. Every species in this galaxy is afraid of the humans. We have seen what they do to each other. We have seen their history. They fight wars over ideas. They fight wars over land. They fight wars over things that happened hundreds of years ago. They never stop fighting. They never give up. They never surrender." He pointed at the map, at the small yellow dot that marked Earth's sun. "The Cathari think they are warriors. They think they understand war. But they have never met a species that loves war the way humans do. They have never faced an enemy that would rather die than lose. They do not know what is waiting for them in Sector 7G. High Counselor Myrison leaned forward. "Then what do you suggest we do?" "Send a message to the Cathari. Tell them to turn around. Tell them that any path is better than the one through Earth's system. And then—" Vex Story paused. "And then we pray that they listen." On the other side of the galaxy, On a small blue planet called Earth, Admiral Lisa Martinez was sitting in her office. It was late at night, and the building was quiet. She was reviewing supply reports when her computer beeped. A message had arrived. It was encrypted with the highest level of security. The sender was marked as Galactic Council Emergency Channel. Lisa frowned. Earth had very little contact with the alien species of the galaxy. They had made it clear, many years ago, that humans were not welcome in their community. Lisa had always wondered why. Humans had tried to be friendly. They had sent peaceful messages. They had offered trade and cooperation. But the aliens had refused everything. They had created a boundary around Earth's system and told humanity to stay inside. Now, for the first time in 50 years, they were reaching out. Lisa opened the message. She read it once. Then she read it again. Her face did not change, but her hands were gripping the edge of her desk very tightly. "Lieutenant Danny Coleman," she said, pressing the intercom button. A young man's voice answered immediately. "Yes, Admiral? Get me General Pete Harrison on a secure line. And wake up the Joint Chiefs. All of them, ma'am. Is something wrong?" Lisa looked out her window. The sky was dark and full of stars. Somewhere out there, far beyond what her eyes could see, an alien armada was flying toward Earth. They thought they were coming to conquer a weak, primitive species. They had no idea what they were about to find. "Something is very wrong, Lieutenant," she said. "But not for us." She ended the call and read the message one more time. The Galactic Council was begging humanity to run away. They were offering to help with evacuation. They were promising safe passage to another system, far away from the fighting. Lisa almost smiled. The aliens still did not understand humans at all. Earth was their home. It was the only home they had ever known. And humans did not run from their home. They defended it. She picked up her phone and began making calls. One morning, every military base on Earth would be on high alert. Every ship in the fleet would be moving to defensive positions. Every soldier, every pilot, every engineer would be preparing for what was coming. The Cathari wanted a war. They would get one. And they would learn, like so many enemies before them, that attacking humanity was the worst mistake anyone could ever make. Warlord Grathnok stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator. He was massive, even for a Cathari. His body was covered in thick gray armor plates that had grown from his own skin. His eyes were red and burned with centuries of hatred and pride. He had lived for over 300 years, and in all that time, he had never known defeat. Behind him, through the massive windows of the bridge, he could see his fleet. 200,000 warships stretching across space like an ocean of metal and fire. Each ship carried thousands of soldiers. Each soldier had been bred for war since birth. The Cathari were the perfect warriors. The galaxy knew this. The galaxy feared this. His second-in-command, Vethra, approached with a data tablet. She was smaller than Grathnok, but her eyes were just as cold. "My lord, we have received a message from the Galactic Council." Grathnok did not turn around. "What do they want? Are they begging for mercy already?" "They are warning us about the humans, my lord. They are asking us to change our route. They say we should avoid the system called Sol." Now Grathnok turned. He took the tablet from Vethra and read the message. Then he began to laugh. It was a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the bridge. "The humans? They are warning us about the humans?" He threw the tablet to the floor. "I have seen the reports on this species. They discovered space travel only 200 years ago. They have a few thousand ships at most. They are primitive. They are weak. They are nothing. The Council seems very afraid of them, my lord. The Council is afraid of everything. That is why they hide behind treaties and borders while we conquer the galaxy. Grathnok turned back to the window. We will not change our route. We will pass through this sol system, and if the humans try to stop us, we will crush them like insects. 3 days later, the first Kethari scout ships entered the sol system. There were 20 of them, fast and well-armed. Their mission was simple: scan the human defenses and report back to the main fleet. Commander Kyle Brooks was waiting for them. Kyle was 42 years old. He had served in the Earth Defense Fleet for 20 years. He had short brown hair, a square jaw, and calm gray eyes that never seemed to blink during a crisis. He stood on the bridge of the Carrier Defiant, watching the Kethari scouts appear on his sensors. 20 contacts, Commander, his tactical officer reported. They're spreading out. Looks like they're scanning our outer defense stations. Open a channel, Kyle said. Channel open, sir. Kyle leaned forward slightly. Unidentified vessels, you have entered human-controlled space. State your intentions or be fired upon. You have 60 seconds. There was a moment of silence. Then a harsh, growling voice came through the speakers. The Kethari scout commander was laughing. Human, I am Commander Threk of the Kethari Dominion. We do not answer to primitive species. We go where we please. And soon, your entire planet will kneel before Warlord Grathnok. Kyle did not respond. He simply looked at his tactical officer and nodded. The Defiant's railguns fired. These weapons used electromagnetic force to launch metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The projectiles traveled so fast that they could not be seen by the naked eye. One moment, 3 Kethari scouts were flying through space. The next moment, they were clouds of burning debris. The entire attack took less than 4 seconds. 52 seconds remaining, Kyle said calmly. I suggest you use them wisely. The surviving scouts did not wait to respond. They turned and fled at maximum speed, racing back toward the main fleet. Commander Threk's ship was the first to reach the Devastator. Grathnok listened to Threk's report in silence. His red eyes were glowing brighter than usual. You lost 3 ships, he said slowly, to 1 human vessel. Threk was trembling. My lord, their weapons were unlike anything we have seen. The projectiles moved faster than our sensors could track. We had no time to raise shields, no time to evade, and you ran. Grathnok's voice was quiet, which was more frightening than shouting. You ran from a single enemy. My lord, I thought it was more important to bring you this information. The humans are more dangerous than we expected. Perhaps the council was right. Perhaps we should. Grathnok moved faster than his size would suggest. His clawed hand closed around Threk's throat and lifted him off the floor. Perhaps we should what? Run away? Hide like cowards? He squeezed tighter. I have conquered 50 species. I have burned worlds. I have made entire civilizations beg for death. And you want me to fear a species that discovered fire a few thousand years ago? He threw Threk across the bridge. The scout commander hit the wall hard and did not get up. The humans surprised you, Grathnok said to his crew. That is all. They have some clever weapons. But weapons can be overcome. Numbers cannot. We have 200,000 ships. They have a few thousand at most. This war was over before it began. Vethra stepped forward carefully. My lord, should we not at least study their defenses? Learn their tactics before we attack? Grathnok stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Send more scouts. Gather information. But tell them this. Any commander who runs will be executed. I want data, not cowardice. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Martinez was receiving reports from every sector. The Kethari were probing their defenses, testing their response times. She had expected this. In fact, she was counting on it. Let them look, she told her staff. Let them see our outer defenses. Let them think they understand what we have. General Pete Harrison frowned. And when they attack? Lisa smiled. It was not a warm smile. When they attack, they will learn that what they have seen is only the beginning. We have been preparing for this day for 50 years. Every asteroid, every moon, every corner of this system has been fortified. They think they are walking into a fight. They are walking into a trap. She looked out the window at the night sky. Somewhere out there, Grathnok was making his plans. He thought he was the predator. He had no idea that he was the prey. The galaxy told us to stay in our system, she said quietly. They drew a line and told us not to cross it. They thought they were containing us. They thought they were protecting themselves from us. She turned back to her officers. They were right to be afraid. And soon, the Cathari will understand why. The Cathari Armada entered the Sol system like a wave of death. 200,000 warships moved in perfect formation, their engines glowing red against the blackness of space. At the center of the fleet, Warlord Grathnok watched from his command throne with eager eyes. "Report," he commanded. Vethra studied her screens. "The humans have positioned their fleet near the fourth planet. Approximately 5,000 ships. They are heavily outmatched, as expected." Grathnok leaned forward. "All ships advance. Destroy everything in your path." The Armada surged forward. They passed the outer planets without resistance. Jupiter and Saturn were silent. The Cathari scouts had reported no defenses there. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Admiral Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Liberty. She was calm, almost relaxed. Captain Jake Warren stood beside her, watching the tactical display with growing tension. "They're entering the outer rim, Admiral. 180,000 ships in the first wave. I see them." Lisa did not take her eyes off the display. The Cathari fleet was moving exactly where she wanted them to go. 50 years of preparation had led to this moment. "All stations," she said into her communicator. "This is Admiral Martinez. Operation Hornet's Nest is now active." Across the outer rim of the solar system, hidden among asteroids and moons, thousands of weapon platforms came to life. They had been built in secret over decades. They'd been designed for one purpose: to turn this region of space into a killing ground. The first weapons to fire were the railgun batteries. They were hidden inside asteroids, completely invisible until the moment they activated. Thousands of metal projectiles shot through space at incredible speeds. They tore through Cathari shields like paper. Ships exploded in chains of fire. Then the missiles launched. Millions of them. They had been planted throughout the asteroid belt years ago, waiting silently for this day. Now they woke up and found their targets. Cathari ships tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. For every missile destroyed, 10 more took its place. Finally, the mines. They were small, almost invisible to sensors. The Cathari fleet flew directly through fields of them. Each mine was designed to attach to a ship's hull and explode a few seconds later. They crawled across the Armada like hungry insects. On the Devastator, alarms were screaming. Grathnok gripped his command throne as explosions rocked his ship. "What is happening?" he roared. "Weapons fire from all directions, my lord." Vethra was shouting to be heard over the noise. "We are flying through a minefield. There are guns in the asteroids. We are being attacked from everywhere. Return fire. Destroy those platforms. We cannot find them all. There are thousands of them." They were completely hidden. Grathnok stared at the tactical display. Red icons were disappearing by the hundreds. His ships were being destroyed faster than he could count. In his 300 years of war, he had never seen anything like this. "The humans knew we were coming," he whispered. "They prepared for us." Lieutenant Carla Hayes was flying a fighter through the chaos. She was one of Earth's best pilots, with reflexes that had been tested in dozens of combat simulations. But nothing had prepared her for the reality of this battle. "Two on your tail, Carla." Her wingman, Ensign Tony Marsh, called out through her helmet speakers. Carla did not think. She simply moved. Her hands pulled the controls, and her fighter spun in a tight spiral that would have crushed an ordinary pilot. The G-forces pushed her back into her seat, but she had trained for this. Her body had been modified to handle forces that would kill a normal human. She came out of the spin behind her pursuers. Her weapons locked on. She pressed the trigger. Two Cathari fighters became balls of fire. "Scratch two," she reported. "How do you do that?" Tony asked. His voice was filled with wonder. "Their ships are faster than ours, but their pilots are not." Carla was already looking for her next target. "They rely on their computers. They follow programs and patterns. We use instinct. We adapt. We improvise. That is why we will win." All around her, the battle raged. Human ships weaved through the chaos with a skill that the Cathari could not match. They were outnumbered 40-1, but they fought like they had nothing to lose. Because they did not. This was their home. This was everything they had. Back on the Liberty, Admiral Martinez was receiving constant updates. 40,000 enemy ships destroyed, Admiral. We have lost 800. She nodded. The numbers were better than she had hoped. But the battle was far from over. "Order all ships to fall back to the secondary line," she commanded. "Let them think they are winning. Let them push deeper into the system." Captain Jake frowned. "Admiral, if we retreat, they will reach Mars. I know." Lisa's eyes were hard. "And when they do, they will find the next surprise waiting for them." On the Devastator, Grathnok was finally regaining control. His fleet had taken terrible losses, but they were pushing through. The human defenses were falling back. He could see their ships retreating toward the inner planets. "They are running," Vethra said. Her voice was weak. She had never seen so much death. "They are not running," Grathnok replied slowly. He was staring at the tactical display with new eyes. "They are leading us somewhere, my lord. Think about it. They knew we were coming. They built these defenses decades ago. Do you really believe this is all they have?" He slammed his fist against his throne. "They are drawing us in. They want us to follow them. There is something else waiting for us." Vethra looked at the display. "Should we stop? Should we retreat?" Grathnok was silent for a long moment. His pride was screaming at him to push forward, to crush the humans completely. But his instincts, honed by 3 centuries of war, were telling him something was wrong. "We have lost 40,000 ships," he finally said. "If we retreat now, the other species will think we were defeated by primitives. The Cathari Dominion will become a joke. Our empire will crumble." He stood up from his throne. "We must continue. We must destroy them completely. Whatever trap they have prepared, we will overcome it with numbers." He gave the order to advance. His fleet pushed deeper into the Sol system, following the retreating human ships. Behind them, the outer rim was littered with debris. Over 40,000 Cathari vessels floated in pieces among the asteroids, and ahead of them, the humans were waiting. Admiral Martinez watched the Cathari approach with cold satisfaction. They were doing exactly what she had expected. They were letting their pride lead them to destruction. "They are entering the Mars zone," Jake reported. "Good." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. "Tell General Harrison to prepare the ground forces. If any of them make it to Earth, we want to be ready." The first day of the war was over. The Cathari had lost a quarter of their fleet. The humans had barely begun to fight. The Galactic Council watched the battle from their station, millions of light years away. Their sensors could pick up signals from Earth's system, delayed by hours but still clear enough to understand what was happening. And what they saw was impossible. "The humans are winning," Counselor Myrison whispered. Her forearms were wrapped around herself, as if she was cold. "Against 200,000 ships, they are actually winning." Ambassador Vex Story stood beside her, his blue skin glowing with a mixture of fear and strange satisfaction. "I tried to warn the Cathari. They did not listen. But how?" The Praetolian delegate's crystal body was vibrating with anxiety. How can such a young species defeat the greatest armada in history? Vex Story turned to face the assembled council. "Because we made a mistake. We thought the humans were dangerous because of their technology. We thought they were a threat because of their weapons. But that is not what makes them terrifying." He pointed at the tactical display, where thousands of red icons were blinking out one by one. "What makes them terrifying is that they never stop. They never give up. They would rather die than surrender. And they have been fighting each other for their entire history. War is not just something they do. It is part of who they are." On Earth, the Cathari had finally reached the planet itself. Their fleet had been reduced from 200,000 to 80,000, but they still outnumbered the human ships by a massive margin. Grathnok had ordered a ground invasion. If he could not defeat the humans in space, he would crush them on their own world. 40 troop transports descended through Earth's atmosphere. Each one carried over 1,000 Cathari soldiers. They were heading for a small island in the Pacific Ocean, where sensors had detected minimal defenses. It would be their landing zone, their first foothold on the human homeworld. General Pete Harrison watched the transports land from his command center in Hawaii. Commander Sophie Lane stood beside him, her face tense. 40,000 enemy soldiers on the ground, General. Maybe 50,000. Pete nodded slowly. "And how many Marines do we have on that island?" 10,000, sir. 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, under Sergeant Major Rick Palmer. Good. Pete turned back to his screens. "Let them land. Let them set foot on Earth. And then let them learn what it means to fight humans on our home ground." Sophie hesitated. "Sir, we're outnumbered 5-1. "I know." Pete smiled grimly. "The Marines have faced worse odds before." On the island, Sergeant Major Rick Palmer was waiting. He was 53 years old, with gray hair and a face full of scars from a lifetime of combat. He had fought in wars across 3 continents and 2 planets. He had never lost a battle. His squad was positioned on a ridge overlooking the beach where the Cathari transports had landed. Below them, thousands of alien soldiers were forming ranks. They were huge, almost 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor. They carried weapons that could punch through concrete. Doc Private Amy Chun was the youngest member of Rick's squad. She was only 22, fresh out of training. Her hands were shaking as she watched the aliens advance. "Sarge, there's so many of them," she said quietly. "And they're so big." Rick checked his rifle without looking at her. "Size doesn't matter in a fight, kid. What matters is heart. And humans have more heart than any species in the galaxy. But their armor, their weapons. My grandfather stormed a beach in Normandy with less equipment than you're carrying right now." Rick finally looked at her. His eyes were calm, almost peaceful. His grandfather fought in trenches with mud and poison gas. Their ancestors fought with swords and spears against enemies that outnumbered them 100-1. And you know what? They won. They always found a way to win. He chambered around in his rifle. "The Cathari have never faced anything like us. They conquer species that surrender when things get hard. They have never fought an enemy that would rather die than lose. Today, they learn why the galaxy is afraid of humans." The Cathari advanced across the island in perfect formation. Their commander, a warrior named Brector, was confident. They outnumbered the humans 5-1. Their armor was superior. Their weapons were more powerful. This would be an easy victory. Then the humans opened fire. It started with explosions. Mines hidden under the sand detonated, breaking the HFY formation. Then came the bullets, thousands of them, pouring down from the ridge like rain. HFY soldiers fell in waves. Brechter screamed orders. His soldiers raised their weapons and returned fire. Some of them charged up the ridge, using their size and strength to climb the steep slope. The Marines were waiting for them. Rick shot 4 HFY soldiers in the time it took them to climb 10 feet. Beside him, Amy had stopped shaking. Her training had taken over. She fired in controlled bursts, each shot finding its target. "They're breaking through on the left." Someone shouted, "I see them." Rick pulled a knife from his belt. "Stay here and keep shooting. I'll handle it." He ran toward the breach, where a group of HFY had reached the top of the ridge. They were twice his size, covered in armor, and armed with weapons that could tear a human in half. Rick did not hesitate. He moved between them like water, his knife finding the gaps in their armor. In less than a minute, 6 HFY warriors were dead. The battle lasted 6 hours. By the end, the beach was covered in bodies. The ocean was stained dark with alien blood. Of the 50,000 HFY who landed, not a single one survived. The Marines lost 3,000 soldiers. They mourned their dead. Then they prepared for the next attack. In space, Grathnok received the report from the surface. His claws dug into his command throne hard enough to draw blood. "All of them?" he whispered. "They killed all of them?" Vethra nodded. Her voice was barely audible. "Every soldier, my lord." The humans took no prisoners. They showed no mercy. Grathnok stared at the tactical display. His fleet had been reduced to less than half its original size. His ground forces had been completely destroyed. For the first time in 300 years, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Fear. "My lord," Vethra said carefully, "perhaps we should consider retreat. We can regroup, gather more ships, and retreat?" Grathnok's voice cracked like a whip. "The HFY do not retreat. The HFY do not run from primitives." But even as he said the words, he knew they sounded hollow. The humans were not primitives. They were something else entirely. Something that the galaxy had never seen before. Something that the galaxy had every right to fear. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Martinez received the reports from the ground battle. She read them in silence, then closed her eyes for a moment. 3,000 Marines, she said quietly. 3,000 good people. Captain Jake stood beside her. "They died protecting their home, Admiral. They died as heroes. I know." Lisa opened her eyes. "And their sacrifice will not be wasted. It's time to end this." She turned to her communications officer. "Open a channel to the enemy flagship. I want to speak directly to Warlord Grathnok." "Channel open, Admiral." Lisa straightened her uniform. "Warlord Grathnok. This is Admiral Lisa Martinez of the Earth Defense Fleet. I think it's time we had a conversation." The face of Admiral Lisa Martinez appeared on every screen in the HFY fleet. She was standing on the bridge of the Liberty, her hands clasped behind her back. Her expression was calm, almost peaceful, but her eyes were hard as steel. Grathnok stared at her image in silence. This was the enemy who had destroyed half his fleet. This human woman, with her soft skin and fragile body. She did not look like a warrior. She looked like she could break in half with one blow. But she had not broken. None of them had. "Warlord Grathnok," Lisa said. Her voice carried clearly through the communication channel. "You have lost 120,000 ships. That is 60% of your invasion force. Your ground troops have been completely destroyed. Every soldier who set foot on Earth is dead." Grathnok found his voice. "This changes nothing, human. I will call for reinforcements. I will return with a fleet 10 times this size. I will burn your planet to ash and scatter the ashes across the galaxy." "No," Lisa said simply. "You will not." The tactical display on the Devastator's bridge flickered. New contacts were appearing. Thousands of them. They were coming from every direction, from behind moons and asteroids, from places where sensors had shown nothing at all. Human ships. Thousands of human ships. They had been hidden throughout the solar system, waiting for this moment. And now they were surrounding what remained of the Cathari fleet. Grathnok felt his blood run cold. "Impossible. Our scouts found no. Your scouts found what we wanted them to find." Lisa cut him off. "We've been preparing for this invasion for 50 years. Every asteroid belt, every moon, every corner of this system has been fortified. You saw our outer defenses. You saw our main fleet. You thought that was everything we had." She leaned forward slightly. "You were wrong." Vethra was studying the tactical display with wide eyes. "My lord, they have us surrounded. There are at least 8,000 additional ships. If they attack—" She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Grathnok stared at the display. His remaining ships were trapped. They had pushed deep into the Sol system, following the retreating human fleet, never realizing that they were walking into a cage. And now the cage was closing. "The Galactic Council told you to stay away from Earth," Lisa continued. "They begged you to change your route. Do you understand why now?" Grathnok said nothing. "We are not like the other species you have conquered. We do not rely on our technology. We adapt it, improve it, weaponize it. We do not surrender when the odds are against us. We fight harder. We have no limit, Warlord. No matter how many ships you send, no matter how many soldiers, we will find a way to defeat them. That is what humans do." On the Galactic Council station, millions of light years away, every delegate was watching the broadcast. The chamber was completely silent. "So here is what will happen," Lisa said. "You will take your remaining ships and leave. You will return to Cathari space. You will tell your people what happened here. You will tell them about the weapons hidden in the asteroids, the mines floating in space, the soldiers who would rather die than surrender. You will tell them everything." Her voice grew harder. "And then you will spread the word. Earth is not to be touched. Humanity is not to be threatened. We want peace. We have always wanted peace. But we will not beg for it. We will not buy it with surrender. If anyone threatens our home, our families, our future, we will destroy them. Completely." She paused, and something changed in her eyes. Something cold and ancient and terrifying. "The next species that tries what you tried will not be allowed to retreat. Do you understand me, Warlord? The next invader will be hunted to extinction. Their worlds will burn. Their children will weep. And the galaxy will know that humanity is not a species to be conquered. We are a species to be feared." Grathnok sat in silence for a long moment. His pride screamed at him to fight, to attack, to die rather than accept defeat. But something deeper, something that had kept him alive for 300 years, told him to listen. The humans were not bluffing. They had proven that again and again over the last 7 days. They had weapons he had never imagined. They had tactics he could not counter. And they had something else, something that no other species possessed. They had the will to use everything they had. They would burn their own system to ashes if it meant victory. They would sacrifice every ship, every soldier, every civilian before they would surrender. They were completely, utterly, terrifyingly serious. "Retreat," Grathnok said quietly. Vethra stared at him. "My lord? Order all ships to retreat. We are leaving this system." His voice was heavy with defeat. "The humans have won. The Kethari fleet turned and fled. They passed through the outer rim, past the debris of their destroyed ships, past the hidden weapons that had torn their armada apart. They did not look back. On the Liberty, Admiral Lisa Martinez watched them go. Captain Jake stood beside her, relief visible on his face. "It's over," he said. "We won, for now." Lisa did not take her eyes off the retreating fleet. "But this is only the beginning. The galaxy knows about us now. They know what we can do. Some will be afraid. Some will want revenge. And some will want to be our friends." She finally turned away from the window. "We need to be ready for all of them." 6 months later, Ambassador Marcus Gray stood before the Galactic Council. He was tall, with kind brown eyes and a warm smile that put people at ease. But the delegates watching him were not at ease. They were terrified. "The Kethari Dominion has signed a non-aggression treaty with Earth," Ambassador Vextori announced. His blue skin was glowing steadily now, no longer flickering with fear. "They have voluntarily given up 17 systems and agreed to pay for the damage their invasion caused." Whispers filled the chamber. High Counselor Myrison raised her arms for silence. "Ambassador Gray," she said carefully, "humanity has shown remarkable capabilities. The Council wishes to know your intentions." Marcus smiled. It was a genuine smile, warm and friendly. But some of the delegates still flinched. "Earth has no interest in conquest," he said. "We never have. We just want to live in peace, explore the stars, and be left alone." He paused, and his smile faded slightly. "But we have learned something from this war. The galaxy is a dangerous place. There are species out there who see kindness as weakness, who think that peaceful people are easy targets. We will not make the mistake of being unprepared again." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every delegate. "Humanity will never start a war, but we will always finish one. We protect our own. And now that we are part of this community, now that we have been forced out of our little corner of space, our own includes everyone who stands with us." He extended his hand toward Counselor Myrison. "The galaxy told us to stay away, to remain in our system, to never reach out. But that is over now. We are here, and we want to help build something better. A galaxy where species do not need to fear invasion, where peaceful people are not conquered simply because they are peaceful." His smile returned, warmer than before, but still carrying that edge of steel. "We can be the best friends you have ever had, or we can be the worst enemies you have ever faced. The choice belongs to the galaxy. But either way, humanity is here to stay." He left his hand extended. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, Counselor Myrison reached out with one of her 4 arms. Her hand wrapped around his, and she shook it gently. "Welcome to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Gray. We look forward to working with you." Marcus nodded. "So do we, Counselor. So do we." Behind him, through the windows of the council chamber, the stars sparkled like diamonds. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning quietly around its sun. A small blue planet, home to a young species that had just announced itself to the galaxy. The galaxy would never be the same again.